Webinar. It's recording. Okay, we got people pouring in. We got some awesome people pouring in. Hello, everybody. Why don't you guys go ahead and use the chat box and say hello? I typically have some music playing. DJ, did you guys know I was actually a DJ in high school? It was, yeah, it was DJ Milano was my name. And we did house parties like every single weekend and made $100 an hour. And it was a really, really cool gig. And we called our company Hit and Run Entertainment. And I had I had an Isuzu Rodeo SUV. And I had like all of our contact information, and it said Hit and Run on the front windshield. So that was like my first entrepreneurial venture when I was in high school. So
wow.
Yeah. Not many people know about that.
I'm jealous.
Well, we got a lot of people saying hello. Thanks so much, guys. We're really excited. We've been planning this for how long now? A really long time. We were supposed to have it in December, and then I got sick, so we had to push it back, and we've been planning on this for a while. So I'm pumped. Are you guys pumped?
Yeah. I mean,
oh yeah.
Number one, good thing you're healthy and we can do this.
Thank you.
That's first and foremost. But yeah, this is going to be great.
Awesome. Well, we'll give it about another minute and then we're going to dive in. If everybody can just let me know where you're at, what states are you in? That's kind of going to give us a good understanding of whether you're on lockdown, whether things are kind of opening up. Just, you know, it'll also allow for a little bit of participation, which is always fun. This is going to be an interactive website, an interactive webinar. We're going to ask you to get in the chat box and answer some questions. And we have a really, really amazing agenda set up for you guys today. And then we also have it planned to have a Q&A at the end. So if it makes sense for us to kind of answer questions as we're going, if we see it, we'll go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we'll save those questions for the end. We've got about, I think we put like 10 or 15 minutes just for that, because we want to get your questions answered. And we got people from all over the place. We got a lot of Canadians up in here as well, which is awesome. And Mr. Blackman said, I'm pumped like a Peloton workout. I don't think I've heard that one before.
I can
Steven,
relate though.
Yeah, you've been, tell everybody about your Peloton journey.
Yeah, I have troubles getting off at times. It's just so addicting. But no, it's super cool. I don't know if any of you guys in the chat have a Peloton, but if you do, add me. Shoot me a message. I'll follow you. But no, it's super fun. I think I'm on like day 33 straight. And so they like give you rewards as you go, right? So the highest like consistent reward that they give is 60 days in a row. So like that's my initial goal, but I'd like to go more. I was reading articles of people that have done it for like 400 days straight, and that's just crazy, but that'd be cool. So
well, you inspired us to get it. We have ours being delivered in, I think, about 8 days. So we're really excited about that.
Nice. We're going to ride.
I'm going to start slow. I'm still not cleared yet. So.
Oh, true. Very true.
Cool. All right. You guys ready to dive in? We ready to do it? If you guys are excited in the chat box, give me a 1. Give me a 1, because Market Muscles and Grow Pro are number 1. There we go. Awesome. Let me go ahead and share my screen, because you know we're coming prepared. You know we're going to have a keynote. And we'll also, Steven, is it cool if we provide them with a copy? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. And we'll also, we're recording this. And if you guys want the keynote, we can get that for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And can you guys see my screen? Are we good?
Yep, you're coming through.
All right, awesome. So I think we've got to kick it off with this iOS update. And I want to make sure I've got my chat over here so we can see everything that's coming in. So more than likely, you've heard about some form of iOS update and Facebook kind of being in a hot seat for privacy concerns. And basically, in order to understand how this is going to affect your school, you kind of need to understand what the Facebook pixel is, because that's ultimately what it seems like it's going to be affecting the most. Your Facebook pixel is just a piece of code that you put on the back end of your website that allows us to track the people that go to your website, and then we can follow them around everywhere they go online with retargeting. You get your Facebook pixel from the ads manager. It's unique to your ad account. And it sounds like a little scary, but it's just a piece of code that you copy and paste. And that's really what is potentially going to be affected. And what they are trying to do, Apple has announced that when people do the iOS, I think it's 14, right? Is it the 14 update? If people choose to opt out, it will prohibit us as marketers to collect some data from those people that are opting out. And basically the phone is gonna, you're gonna get a little notification, a little prompt that asks, do you want to opt in or opt out? So, kind of layman's terms, it just means that Apple is trying to remove some of the ability to retarget your audiences, and those audiences are, potentially going to decrease. Now, everything is still pretty vague. They stated that this was going to start rolling out in the first quarter of 2021. From what we've researched and gathered, it mainly is going to affect the pixel. It doesn't look like it's going to affect kind of what happens inside the platform as much, but still they are being pretty vague about it, which just means that your organic strategy and your ability to create content marketing is going to be just really more important than ever. And also, we don't never want to have all of our eggs in one basket. We shouldn't only go all in on one marketing strategy. You should be omnipresent on other platforms such as Google and YouTube. Now, so far, January 12th, we haven't seen any negative effects yet due to this iOS update. But I just kind of wanted to kick that off because it's a question that has been popping up. Stephen, is there anything you want to add to that before I kind of dive into my section?
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing commercials already pop up that Facebook is running, like featuring small businesses, just kind of showing the effect of the pixel, and it's something that we use so often. So just because Apple's making an update, it doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to be moving forward forever, right? We're just kind of responding to whatever is being thrown at us, and of course, there's always going to be a way. We all know that. So, whether or not it's going to be a big deal, that's kind of to be seen. And then whether or not it lasts forever is also to be seen. So, yeah, I mean, regardless, we'll continue to find ways to drive a lot of traffic to people's websites, and yeah, so it won't be a big deal, I think, either way.
I agree. It's nothing to freak out about. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to be sharing some strategies specific to 2021 on Facebook and Google My Business. And then Stephen and Sarah Jane are going to be talking specifically about your website. So you're really going to be hitting all of the most important components of your digital footprint. Okay. So I'm going to kick it off with some Facebook optimization, especially because we just talked about this iOS update. And I truly believe that 2021 is not only another year that video needs to be a non-negotiable, but content marketing also needs to be a non-negotiable. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt, first degree jiu-jitsu black belt, third degree black belt in Taekwondo. And, a lot of times when we have people that have been training in our programs for a while, they want to see all the fancy stuff, right? Show me the flying armbar. Show me the berimbolo. Show me the jump tornado kick. But at the end of the day, basics and fundamentals is ultimately what wins fights. And I'm telling you that basics and fundamentals is ultimately what's going to help you win on social media as well. Okay. So what do I mean by, content marketing? Well, this is like the definition of content marketing. It's just a type of marketing where you are creating and sharing online material. That could be videos, it could be blogs, it could be social media posts, it could be webinars, like what we're doing right now. This is content marketing, guys. But the key to content marketing is that you're not trying to stuff a call to action down people's throats. You're not explicitly trying to promote your brand. You're just stimulating interest in your services. So I think we all know we're supposed to be posting on our social media platforms, but I think one of the biggest changes in 2021 is just making sure that it's more interactive. Okay. Very often when I'm auditing people's Facebook business page, I go and look, and they do have consistent posts. But if you look at the engagement, it's like 0 likes, maybe 1 like, maybe 2 likes, and it was probably the person's grandmother, right? Like there's no engagement. And the purpose of us posting is to get engagement. If people aren't engaging with our posts, we cannot put them in a group to retarget. All right. So what does this kind of look like in terms of the type of content you should absolutely be putting out? One is user generated content. So I would have your students and your parents not be shy about generating content. This is actually a video that one of our parents shot. His 2 daughters train in our martial arts program. This was a couple of weeks ago. I mean, if there's ever a reason to live in Florida, it's because you can be in a t-shirt and shorts, like, in December on the beach, which is pretty awesome. But user generated content is so powerful because built in comes social proof. If this father didn't absolutely love what we were doing, then he wouldn't have put this together. So prompting your followers to create user generated content is definitely something I would look into doing in 2021. Also, going live. Guys, we've been kind of, beating this down over and over again about going live. But I have this screenshot here because if you look at the years, the first time we went live was about 4 years ago. And we have been consistent on a weekly basis with going live. And even look 4 years ago, the amount of views that we were getting, right? 337, 385, 657. Okay, now you add that up week after week after week, it's ultimately going to compound. So Chris, that's great. I understand that I'm supposed to be going live, but what do I do with it? Well, my recommendation, and this is what we do for our clients, is at the end of every month, you create audiences out of the people that have watched your videos, and you can put those audiences into your ads. It's another form of retargeting. And you can do that with your videos. You can do that with people that engage with your posts, and you can also do it with people that engage with your events. But if you're not creating these videos, then you're not going to have a pool of people that you can put in an audience. So now more than ever, having a really strong Facebook Live game, and also making sure that the type of Facebook Live content that you're putting out isn't always the same. I have, taught in a lot of my different courses to do a What's Up Monday video. And I'm so proud that so many people in our industry are doing it. But really, the purpose of the What's Up Monday is just to build your confidence. It's not because I think you're going to get hundreds and hundreds of views. It's more about building your confidence so that now you have the courage to go live during classes or during events or during, the daytime when your team is working. People love seeing behind the scenes. So take a look at your Facebook Lives. And if all you're seeing is What's Up Monday after What's Up Monday, we've got to have a variety of different types of lives that we're doing, okay? And then the last kind of puzzle piece of this interactive content marketing is doing surveys, quiz, polls, and contests. And this has absolutely pretty much nothing to do with martial arts, at least these first 2 posts. But you have to remember why people are on social media. They're on it to be entertained. Okay. So if I'm on it to be entertained, they're also on it to give their opinion. People love giving their opinion. Okay. I mean, you see it a lot in our martial arts groups that we have for school owners, where somebody will just ask kind of a, a one sentence question. And now all of a sudden you start seeing hundreds and hundreds of comments. So this is what I would consider interactive style of content, where you are posting and asking people for their opinion. Now you got to have a healthy mix of this style of content, your Facebook lives, and then what you're also posting, just whether that's in a picture of your classes, videos of your classes. We have to have a variety of visual mixes. Okay. So Stephen and Sarah Jane and myself, we're going to kind of wrap up today with the importance of authenticity. But I do want to touch on one of the easiest things that you can do to make sure that you have a just kind of like a database of pictures and videos that you can use when you are posting. Because very often when I'm doing audits, I see people just posting stock image after stock image after stock image. And when you look at the amount of shares or comments and likes on that type of content, it's usually pretty small. Okay. When you start posting pictures and videos of your actual students, that's where you start to see the engagement, because that's what they want to see. So we utilize a Google Drive folder. We've done this for a couple of years, and we create a folder for every single month. The first week of classes, we take a truckload of pictures, and then we put that into the Google Drive. So now, and it's not just for my social media content that I can use these assets. It's for flyers. It's for emails that we're sending out. It's for events that we're creating. And this one little tweak can really help to make sure that what you're posting is more authentic. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that later on. Okay. So really kind of the first thing with Facebook optimization is making sure you're doing interactive content. The second up is your reviews and recommendations. And guys, this shouldn't be any news, but I feel like what happens is, as school owners, it's like, oh yeah, I got to get reviews. I got to get recommendations. So you do a hard push, you get a ton of them, and then you just stop. And then you remember again a few months down the road, and then you just stop. Ideally, we want to automate this process as much as possible. And an easy way to do that is through your email sequences and your text message sequences. Okay. The other thing is we want to create a culture of reciprocity. So if somebody is taking the time to leave a review and recommendation, I see a lot of times school owners just like give the thumbs up, or they'll love it. Hey, they just took the time to type something out. You take the time to type something out as well. Now, if I absolutely had to choose between Facebook and Google in terms of what's more important review-wise and recommendation-wise, I definitely would lean more towards Google. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus on reviews. Now, how do you know if you have enough? I mean, I don't think there's ever a certain number that's enough, but I do look for triple digits. And often if I see like only 10 reviews, I'll ask that school owner, you've been open for 5 years. Are you telling me you've only impacted 10 people's lives? And the answer is no. Of course, we've impacted a lot more. I want my number to start reflecting the amount of lives that we've impacted. Okay. Third portion of Facebook optimization is you got to do events. Now, I understand in 2020 that was difficult, but we were still doing events in 2020. We were doing virtual parent night out. We were doing story time with coach for the kids. We were doing beer time with coach for our adult program. And you can still create events. Why is this important? Because all of these people, and this is all organically, okay? All of these people that have interacted with these events, we can now put them in an audience to retarget. So again, do you want to, fish out of a little pond, or do you want to fish out of a big lake or an ocean? So the more events that you're creating, the more quality interactive content that you're posting, the larger audience you are going to be able to retarget. Okay. And again, I mean, every single month, we have our events. They're created in Facebook. It's very user friendly. It's just basically fill in the blank. Okay. And then we're going to wrap up with Facebook optimization, the importance of videos. I mean, I've been saying video is a non-negotiable. I've been preaching that for a couple of years now. Okay. And again, we have been posting videos on Facebook for very consistently for many, many years. Now, I prefer Facebook Live just because you have a tendency to get more people to watch that than a pre-recorded video. And please, please stop doing this. Stop posting something on YouTube and then taking the YouTube link and putting it on Facebook. Facebook and YouTube are like mortal enemies. I don't say mortal enemies, but Facebook doesn't want people leaving its platform to go to YouTube because then Facebook can't show them ads. So take that video and just upload it directly to the platform. What we've noticed is when you put YouTube links on your Facebook business page, Facebook actually pulls back some of the reach because they don't want people leaving the platform. Now, all of this being said, it's not the best content that wins. It's the best promoted content that wins. So if you have a post that you feel is really, really strong, guys, it doesn't even take $5. Take $5, maybe, max up to 10 and promote that. This is the one area where boosting posts makes sense. All right. I wouldn't recommend, boosting a post to try to get name, email, and phone number. That's not going to work. When you boost a post, the purpose of that, the goal and the objective is to get people to engage. And when people engage with that particular post, now we put them in an audience that we can retarget with an offer. All right. So if you're noticing that your organic content isn't getting a lot of reach, it's a pay-to-play platform, unfortunately. All right. So take a couple of bucks with your best content and push it out to more people. All right. That's what I have, your 5 kind of steps on optimizing Facebook. I see we have a question here. Let me see if I can pull that up. And if you have any others, let us know. You can either put it in the chat box or you can use the questions area. User-generated content, does this include sharing students' posts, or are we talking content they give you to only put on your page? Yeah, that's a great question. So the particular example that I gave, this was actually a parent that just posted it on their personal page. And I'm friends with the parents of my students, which I believe you should as well. If you're posting things that you don't want people to see, well, then maybe you shouldn't be posting it. I think there's a lot of power with building your tribe online and making those friendships. But this particular example was something he posted, and I reached out. I said, hey, would you mind sending that to me so I can post it on our platforms? And I do believe having that kind of level of respect, because this does have to do with kids, is what I would recommend. Okay. Boost a post versus paid engagement ad. That's a great question, Ron. Boosting a post is easier. Okay. There's not as many steps. And if you don't necessarily consider yourself very techie in terms of Facebook ads, I would just say boost a post. But if we, as professional marketers, we would go through the Facebook Ads Manager, and we would use the engagement objective inside of the Ads Manager. But again, that requires more technical savvy. All right, great question. Okay, let's dive into Google My Business. I got about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to be passing it off. So, guys, Google My Business is probably one of the most underutilized aspects of your digital marketing footprint. And your Google My Business listing, this is what it looks like. If somebody is actively searching for your school, this is what will pop up over to the right. Or if they're just searching for martial arts in general, this is what could possibly show up on the Google Maps, what we call a 3-pack. Okay. Very often when I do audits, these school owners haven't updated this in years. I was actually doing an audit a couple of days ago, and they had on their schedule that they were closed 4 out of the 7 days. And that wasn't true. They were actually open 6 out of the 7 days. So in order to get here, you just need to go to business.google.com. And this is something that you should, I would at least say once a quarter, just kind of take a fine-tooth comb and update. And these are the areas that I would look at updating. So first and foremost is the informational section inside of Google My Business, okay? So this is a screenshot of inside of Google My Business. Over on the left-hand side, third one down, it says info, and this is where you put all of your information. You need to make sure this is up to date. And when you have your description, you want to insert into your description keywords that you believe people will search for. Now, Chris, you're a BJJ and an MMA school. How come your category says karate school? Because I'm a smart marketer. And many people think that karate and martial arts are the same. And I want to make sure my business gets out in front of them if they are looking for a karate school. And we're going to talk about categories in a second, okay? So if you haven't just kind of taken a look at your information and updated it, go ahead. Google My Business also added basically COVID precautions and procedures that you can add to your listing. So if people find your listing, it could say something like, you know, this place does temperature checks. This place does temperature checks on the staff. This place requires masks. I'm not here to get into an argument on, you know, whether you should be doing that or not, but you can add that to your Google My Business post so that when people look for you, it tells them the COVID procedures and precautions that you are taking. For those of you that are in, you know, states unlike Florida that has been open for very, very long, you know, since June 1st, that's something to consider. Your schedule is another big thing, guys. So often I see people's class hours on there instead of office hours. If you've updated any of that, just go in and make sure your schedule is accurate. Under our Google Analytics, we found that the two highest call times to our academy is 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. So that means at 12 p.m. and 6 p.m., we better have somebody that can answer the phone. For some of you, maybe you get into your, you know, academy at 2 p.m., 3 p.m. If you still have the ability to answer the phone for office hours, I would put those hours, especially if you have somebody that, you know, is looking you up during lunchtime. If your school says closed in bright red, which is the color that it says closed in, but your competitor says open, more than likely your competitor is going to get the call. All right. So make sure you're double checking your schedule. Reviews, we've already touched on it. Guys, the reason why this is so important, you know it's important, but Google has been starting to slowly release in different industries badges that you can get on your Google My Business listing. So if you look under here, it says #1 rated roofing contractor in St. Louis. And under Dallas Maids, it says #2 rated house cleaning service in Dallas. So these are local services. It hasn't been released in the martial arts industry, but hey, might as well get ahead so that if they absolutely do release this into, you know, our industry, hey, maybe now you could earn that #1 rated badge, which I think is huge, okay? The next thing we want to look at is your category. So check this out. This is from Insights, and it says how customers search for your business. And if you look between the blue, which is discovery, the green, which is direct, and then the yellow, which is branded, the majority of people are finding us through discovery, which says customers who find your listing searching for a category, product, or service. And that's why we have as a category that we're a karate school, because we know people are searching for that. I don't think it's disingenuous at all. I think the majority of people think karate and martial arts are the same. Okay, so make sure you have all of those categories. And then last up, your pictures. When was the last time that you've updated your pictures on your Google My Business listing? For some of you, it's been a very, very long time, okay? So if you check out these insights, and this is specifically from my Google My Business account for Gracie Pack, if you look at the number of photos that we have compared to the businesses like you, it's almost 5x, okay? And every single day, I get an email from Google My Business that tells me how many people have viewed my photos. More photos I have for them to view, the more authentic it makes our brand, the better it builds that know, like, and trust. And you know, people have more to look at when they are looking at our listing. So 100%, if you haven't updated your photos on your Google My Business listing, I would definitely do that. And again, just to kind of drive this point home, the number of times your business photos have been viewed compared to photos from other businesses. Look at us. This is a month, guys. In 1 month, our photos were viewed 52,000 times compared to businesses like us, which were 9.8 thousand. All right. So if that doesn't, get you motivated to, stay ahead, definitely do that. Now, what has allowed that is that we post daily on Google My Business. So the same way that you can post on Facebook, you can also post on Google My Business. And that will also allow you to increase where you're showing on the search engine results page if you're posting and utilizing keywords in those posts. Okay. All right, so that's my main portion of the presentation. I know there were some questions in here, and I'll get to those, and then Stephen and Sarah Jane are gonna rock your socks talking about websites. Hey, Chris, is there any way to get some of the Facebook reviews on the Google review page without having to ask the parent to redo them? I do not believe so. No, they're two completely different platforms, so you would have to specifically ask. When you do ask, give them a link. So all of your review, your Google My Business review section, you have a unique link. And if you just like Google how to find my review link, you'll find step by step, because it is a little tricky. There's a couple of steps in order to get that specific link, but give them the link. It makes it that much easier for them, as opposed to saying, hey, can you just give us a Google review? And I've done full webinars on how we broke 100 5-star reviews, and I'd be happy to send that over to you, because it really is a webinar in itself on how to get Google reviews. Do you recommend setting up a separate Google Voice number for information calls? So if you are doing Google Ads, you can set up a separate Google Voice number, which will allow you to track those calls a little bit better. So yes, 100%. Last question. I noticed last week that Google My Business allows posts like Facebook. I started posting there now. Is it worth it? And should the post be any different from the Facebook post? Yes, it's worth it. Yes, you should do it. If you're posting a question on Facebook like, do you like colored lights on your Christmas tree or white lights on your Christmas tree? That's more of like an engagement style post that doesn't belong on Google My Business. So that's the only kind of type of post that I wouldn't put on there. Okay. And then Mr. Levy, what incentive do you give for someone writing a review? We actually have a brand ambassador program. So depending on, have they left a review on Facebook? Have they done a Google review? Have they referred somebody before, and have they checked in? We actually provide them with a Gracie Pack shirt that you're unable to purchase. The only way you can get that shirt is if you are a brand ambassador. And that's a whole nother webinar in itself as well. Awesome. All right, I'm passing the mic. I've done enough talking. Let's have the brains go.
Well, that brand ambassador program, I don't know if you remember, but we used that at my instructor school in New York, and we had that cool little graphic, put it up in the front lobby, put it in the bathroom, and that worked really well. So yeah, for those that are interested, definitely have to run a webinar going over that. But cool. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen now. Let's see. Alrighty. So as Chris was saying earlier, basics is going to be the key in 2021. And I know that there's a lot of cool kind of like shiny objects out there that you can get really hung up on and spend a lot of time on. But when it comes down to it, if we can just hone in our basics as marketers, we're going to see our businesses grow through 2021. So what I'm going to go through today is basically what the ideal element placing is on your website and just how you can optimize those things as well. So first thing we're going to start with is your logo design. So what you see on the right hand side is my instructor's old logo. So basically he was using the type of karate that we did as his main logo. And it was about a year or two ago that I went in and we just did a total rebrand and updated the design, which you see on the right-hand side. So, one of the big things that we noticed, and it was actually pretty wild when we did this rebrand and we introduced some other things to the business as well, like that brand ambassador program and a couple other unique things. But basically, when we introduced this new logo, we saw a 30% instant increase in enrolled members. So, for those that still have the same logo from like the 80s or the 90s, I think it's time to upgrade. And if some of the largest corporations in the world, and you can look it up, you can see the evolution of logos from companies like Coke or Starbucks or Wendy's or McDonald's. They all go through iterations of their logo. And the reason why they do it is because as time progresses, style changes, what attracts people changes. So they're just kind of like always iterating their logo to make it more contemporary. So if you haven't done this in a while, I highly, highly suggest you do this. Not only is it going to make your brand seem a lot fresher and newer and cooler, it's going to get your existing members excited about this as well, because they get to be part of something that's fresher, newer, and cooler as well. And then you can make cool merch and sell it, and it just goes on and on. So, one of the most common things that I hear when it comes to rebranding or introducing a new logo is, but everyone knows my existing logo, and what happens if I change it? Is everyone going to forget about me? And again, just going back to all of these large corporations, like I mentioned, are doing this without issue. Same thing applies for you. As long as you're being, consistent with all of your other messaging, all of your content marketing, like Chris was talking about, people are going to see the new logo and they're going to associate that with your business. So, that won't be an issue. The other piece is if you're creating your new logo based off of your old one and just making it more contemporary, then people will see those things, and recognize it as well. So if you haven't updated your logo in a really, really long time, I want you to consider doing that. There's a lot of great sources out there, especially Fiverr. I wouldn't go with someone that's creating a logo for $5. I would spend a little bit more, maybe, $80, $90, or $100. But it's going to pay off real big for you. So next thing we've got is your phone number. So as I go through, just to add a little bit more context, is I'm starting at the top of your website and I'm going to work my way down here. So the next piece we're going to talk about is your phone number. So if you have your phone number on your website, which I really hope you do, make sure it's placed at the top right of your website. Now, this is important for a couple different reasons. One, this is just like the known place for a website or for a phone number to go on your website. So if you're changing that, then people are going to be confused. The other piece to this is, if you ever look at the studies of how people actually read websites, they read it in like an F pattern, right? So they look at the top, the full width of the website, then they kind of go down the left-hand side, and then somewhere in the middle, they read across just a little bit. And understanding these patterns of how people read websites is really important, because we want to make sure that super important information follows that specific path that they're reading. So this is why your logo goes in the top left. This is why your phone number goes in the top right. This is why a main call to action button also goes in the top right. These aren't things that are just done because that's the norm, but there's actual, science and data behind it as well. The other thing about your phone number is you want to make sure that anyone on a mobile device can just click it and it'll instantly call. I think a lot of people have phone numbers on their website, but it requires the person to copy the number and then go to their phone app and then put it in, where you need to make sure it's linked properly. So if you don't know how to do this, or if you don't have it done on your existing website, just Google, how to link phone number on a website. It's pretty easy. And if you're using Market Muscle's website, it's done for you already, but make sure that people can contact you and that you're not making it difficult for them to contact you as well. Cool. Next thing we're going to talk about is your navigation. So when I talk about navigation, I'm talking about the elements that you have on the top of your website. So one of the most common things that I see with website navigation is people who put too much up at the top. And, I'm a big fan of Gordon Ramsay. I watch a lot of his shows. And on Kitchen Nightmares, one of the things that he does is he goes into the restaurant, he sits down, and he just orders a couple things to get an idea about, about the restaurant. And one of the most common things that he comments on is how many items are on the menu. And anytime you have too many items on the menu, you have something called analysis paralysis that happens, where people don't know what to select. So they end up not selecting anything. So your website navigation really needs to be clear and concise and limited to just a few items. So the items that you see here, home, about, programs, blog, and location are the ones that I suggest. And then of course you can have drop downs below those. So underneath about, you might have like your staff. Underneath programs, you'll list out your programs. Underneath location, potentially you have more than one location. So you can have drop downs underneath, but I wouldn't I wouldn't put too many items up at the top and make it confusing for someone that's potentially going through and selecting. Cool. So working our way down the website, the next piece we're going to talk about is your banner. So the banner is the main thing that people see when they first land on your website. I know it's a pretty common, what I'm going to call a myth at this point, that you need to, have everything kind of slammed into the top of the website because people don't look at below the fold or anything like that. But believe it or not, people scroll and scroll a lot. And as time goes on, especially with the use of mobile devices, people are getting used to scrolling even more. So don't worry about slamming too much information at the top of your website, but regardless, your banner needs to have a captivating headline that's going to automatically draw people in to want to view more of your website. One of the things that I see as well is that if you don't have a very captivating headline, and we'll define that in just a second, you have a lot of people who will land on your website and then leave just because they didn't get their attention pulled in. So what happens is you end up getting something called a high bounce rate. And if your bounce rate is high, then it starts to affect things like your SEO. And basically, if someone lands on your website and leaves within just a couple seconds, Google tracks that as someone that has bounced from your website. And you can see those percentages if you're using something like Google Analytics, but it's your goal to have the lowest bounce rate possible. So look at your banner and think about the wording that's in there. Is that something that's going to attract someone to want to learn more about your specific school? We like to use something that is going to demonstrate the transformation that they can expect coming at your school. It's not necessary that you keyword stuff the banner text with specifically, the keywords that you're trying to come up with. But really the main goal is just to get people hooked. So that way they scroll down and learn more, or click a button like we have here in this example, the learn more button. Cool. So moving on, we've got our opt-in form. So the opt-in form, opt-in forms come in all different types of shapes and sizes, but what you see on the right-hand side is an example of what our common opt-in form looks like. The thing that you have to be certain of is that you have a very clear call to action. So here in this example, you can see access our schedule and exclusive online special. That is the most common call to action that we use and have seen work the best. The reason why this works the best is because it's not too big of a commitment for that person to then type in their information. So a common mistake that I'll see is people will offer what their trial offer is right in that box. So let's just say they put 2-week free trial or 2-week paid trial for $49, whatever it is, fill out your information. Basically, the only people that are going to fill out their information are the ones that are ready to take that next step and purchase that trial or sign up for that trial. And we have to remember and go back to that time where we first stepped on the mat. It's a pretty scary thing. So we don't want them to have to commit too much in terms of what they're signing up for to drop their information in, because that's why we have automations. And Sarah Jane is going to talk about lead optimization and automations. But we have those in place so that way they are following up with our leads and we'll convert them at a later time. So if you've changed your call to action to be something that seems like it's a big commitment for people, I would suggest changing it back. That way you can have more leads. The other piece that I also suggest is make sure your name box, rather than having first name, last name, just change it to one field that says full name. It's easier, it's quicker, it's more inclusive because sometimes people have more than just a first and a last name. And also sometimes people have last names that only have like 2 characters. And a lot of times you'll have fields that require like 3 or more. So anything that's going to potentially stop people from opting into your website, we want to eliminate, right? We want to make sure this is a painless and frictionless scenario here. So we just want to make sure that it's easy as possible for them. Next thing we have is our program selector. And again, we're moving down the website. We've got our program selector here. So one quick thing is make sure you don't have a one-page website. I see this happen sometimes where people will have all of their information for their school all on their homepage. So there's not, separate pages for your about or separate pages for programs. It's a really poor SEO minded thing to do, to have one page for all your information. So if you are currently using a website like that, I highly suggest changing that. But with your program selector specifically, you want to make it easy for people to understand what programs that you offer. Common mistake that I see is they'll use, or schools will use the name of their programs, for their program selector. But a lot of times we use names like Little Dragons or Tiny Ninjas or Kobudo or Weapons Pro, or what things that are confusing to people that are outside of our industry. So something that really helps with, letting people understand which program is specifically for them is including age groups. So a lot of times what we'll do is, if you have your Little Dragons program, we'll just add in parentheses at the end, ages 4 through 6. Or if your youth program is ages 7 through 15, then you'll add that to the end of your program name. So that way people are very sure and certain of which one they select. So that way they can learn more about your programs. Cool. Next piece is reviews. So of course you need to have reviews on your website. If you don't have reviews on your website currently, I highly suggest you just go to your Facebook or your Google pages, take some screenshots or copy the text over and add those to your website. But the reason why it's so important to have reviews on your website is, one, it's going to build trust and confidence. So that way people are more willing to fill out your main call to action or your opt-in box. The other piece is it makes people stay on your website even longer. So we talked about bounce rate before. If there's more things that they're interested in reading, like reviews, they're more likely to stay on your website. So that's going to help with your SEO. The other piece is you don't want to ever give people a reason to leave your website. So if you're dealing with someone that likes to do a lot of research about your business first before they commit, why make them leave your website and go to your Facebook page or your Google page to read your reviews? If you have them there already, they never have to leave your website. They get to do the research that they want to do. And then all of a sudden they're opting in rather than potentially leaving your site and then forgetting to go back to opt in. So another great reason to have your reviews on your website. The other piece is I would not call them testimonials. Testimonials carries a different, notion behind it. Reviews and recommendations is what's most commonly used by social media, which is where people typically get, their trusted reviews from. So just follow what they use, so that way, it kind of resonates with people and just gains more trust that way. And then next, we've got your blog. So, I'm sure you've heard this for years and years that you should be blogging, but let's break down a couple reasons why. So especially with COVID going on right now, and we're kind of living in this digital environment, you don't have the opportunities to step in front of your community as much as you once did. So your blog is a great way to establish yourself as a leader within your community. It allows you to share any thoughts and insights regarding anything from child development to self-defense. It's just your way of getting in front of your community. And then when you post a blog post, you can copy that. You can use it as content on social media. You can share it in local parent groups. And it's just a way of creating content without actually selling your services initially. So definitely want to use that to establish yourself as a leader. The other piece, again, going back to that bounce rate that I keep talking about, you want to give reasons for people to stay on your website. So reading blog content is a great way to increase your amount of time people stay on your website, and then to lower your bounce rate, which in turn will increase your SEO. The other piece is that Google loves content, right? So the more content you have on your website, specifically talking about the keywords that you're targeting, the more likely you are to rank higher for those keywords. So just to break down Google as a business, when it comes to their search engine, they are always looking to rank the websites that they feel like represent what people are looking for the highest. Okay, so if you have two websites, identical websites, one was updated a year ago, one was updated a week ago because you posted a blog, which one are they more likely to rank higher? Of course, it's going to be the one with the more recent information. So any opportunity we get to refresh our website, to add more content, we want to take advantage of that. And then the last piece is, well, I don't have time to blog, or I'm not a great writer. Well, if you don't have time for it, you can outsource it. Again, Fiverr is a great place where you can hire writers. Just make sure that they are, their primary language is English. But what you can do is just write just kind of like a bullet point list of the things that you want inside of your blog post. And then you don't have to take that time of like finessing it and making it sound good. You can just send it to a professional writer. They'll do it for you, maybe 10 or 15 bucks. And it's a great way to, save some time as well, get some content on your website. If you have staff, you can also, make it one of their duties where they have to create a blog, once every 2 weeks about some sort of topic. Next piece is trust icons. So a lot of times I don't see this used on websites, but it's a really powerful thing that allows you to establish yourself and make you stand out as someone that's different from your competitors. So for those that don't have trust icons, do you belong to any groups in your community? So that might be the Chamber of Commerce, that might be you being an accredited BBB business. Just look for opportunities for you to put these logos on your website that will, again, just build trust, build confidence, and then have people more likely to fill out their information. The other piece is, have you won any awards? I know a lot of, communities will do like these best of contests where you can enter. A lot of times businesses don't enter just because they don't know about it. So it's very easy to win. But it's a great way for you to be, recognized by your community as the best martial arts school or the best gym in your area. So if you haven't applied for those in the past, highly suggest you do those. But once you start applying to them, I urge you to continue to apply to them, because there's nothing I feel like worse with trust icons than you having an icon that says, oh, we're the best martial arts schools in Bethpage for the year of 2008. Well, what happened over the past 12, 13 years? How come you haven't won that award? So make sure you keep up on that. Next piece is your location. Make sure you have a map, an actual Google map that's embedded either on your location page or on your home page. So that way people are able to utilize that. They can either move the map around and see what nearby businesses you're by. If they're not super familiar with your location, they can kind of scroll in and scroll out and see where you are. Google has things embedded directly into the map itself where people can track directions and do things like that. So it's really important that you have an embedded map. If you have just a screenshot, it's not as good as having the actual map that people can interact with. The other piece is if they're on a mobile device, and we're going to talk about this next, it makes it super simple for them to just click on the map and then just open up with their GPS and track directions. So if they're coming in for their first lesson, that makes it super easy for them. And then the next piece here we've got is mobile first. So you might have heard the term mobile friendly before, but this is different. This is mobile first. And the reason why we call it mobile first is because more than 70 to 80% of your traffic comes from mobile devices now. So, just to set a precedence here, if you don't have a website that's mobile friendly, meaning it looks good on a mobile device, it doesn't require the person to scroll in and out to see your text, that's step one. You need to make sure that's done, because if you don't, you're basically saying, hey, 80% of the people that are coming to my website, they're basically not going to opt in because they're not having a good experience. It's hard for them to navigate. It's hard for them to enter in their information. So that's stage one. Stage two here is mobile first. So that's thinking about the mobile experience before you think about the desktop experience. So what are things that are important for people that are on mobile devices? We talked about the phone number, being able just to click on it and have it dial automatically. That's super important. Are buttons big enough? Is it easy for people to click on? Is your opt-in fields, the boxes, are they easy to click on as well? Is all the text legible? Is it easy to read? A lot of times people on their mobile devices, they're not connected to Wi-Fi. So are your images super big? Are they scaled down so that way things load fast? Are you trying to load videos on mobile, or should you just give the person the option to hit a play button just because maybe they're in a scenario where they can't, or they don't have good connection, or they don't want to use their data. So you have all of these different considerations when you're thinking about your website, but just change your mindset and think about the mobile first experience rather than the desktop first experience that we're all used to. And then lastly, we have the hidden element, which is page speed. So page speed, if you go to gtmetrics.com, and put your website in, it's going to return what your page speed is. Now, page speed is another consideration when it comes to Google when they are ranking your website. So if you have a very slow loading website, you are not an ideal candidate for their top search rank results. So you want to make sure your website loads fast. There's a couple different techniques to make that happen. Everything starting from your web hosting to your images being sized down, and the list goes on, the coding, et cetera, et cetera. But you want to make sure that you have a quick loading website. So for those of you that are Market Muscles customers, just so you know, this screenshot is actually a demo of a version 3 website that's run through GT Metrics. You can see we've got an A rating, 1.3 seconds was how long it took for the website to first load. So that's super, super quick. So you just want to make sure that your website loads fast. Again, if it doesn't, people are more likely to leave your website. You're going to have a higher bounce rate. It all kind of just adds up back to your SEO and driving people to your website. So the key theme here is basically, do not give any excuse for people to leave your website, whether that's slow loading, bad content, not being able to find what they're looking for. You have all these different opportunities to essentially drive people away from your website, and you need to make sure you're making the adjustments so that way people are staying and finding what they're looking for. And yeah, that's all I've got.
Well, I had no idea. Where's my camera? There we go. The F view of a website, how we naturally, our eyes make that F, blew my mind. I had no idea about that. Super cool. And the trust icons. We've been a part of our Chamber of Commerce. We've won awards. We're, accredited by the Better Business Bureau. And, I didn't even think to put it on the website. So I've had some huge takeaways today, which is awesome. And we had a couple of questions if we want to dive into those. So yeah. One of them was, can a call to action page have 2 offers, giving the prospect an option that fits them best? For example, like 1 week free or 2 weeks for $19.95 includes the full uniform. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think in a scenario like that where there's only 2 options, it's not too bad. I think that's an okay idea. The other thing is you want to test, right? I mean, you want to see what works best for you. The other piece here is, okay, what converts to members better, right? Because I think a lot of people, and what I've seen has worked really well, is you offer a free class or 2, and then you go straight to membership, which is what people are trying to do rather than offering an extended, 8-week trial or something like that. So you just want to play with which one converts better for you. You can try by giving both options first, and then figure out which one people are going towards, and then aim towards that. But Chris, as you know, with marketing, testing is key here. So yeah, hopefully that answers that.
100%. Jackie, little techie question: who hosts the Market Muscles websites? A server farm?
It's actually in my basement. Just kidding, it's not. Yeah. So yeah, we use a company. The name of the company is Vulture is one of the servers. The other one is DigitalOcean. Basically, what we do is we look at all of the big businesses, like the big businesses that we rely on, right? Like Uber and like all these crazy large companies. And we say, okay, where do you guys host your servers? Because you need to make sure that everything is up all the time for, hundreds and thousands of users. So if they're trusting those companies, then so do we. So that's typically how we pick those. So yeah.
Awesome. And then John says, are drop downs to go to a program link okay? Or should we have it set up with a big picture right on the front page with, say, 3 different choices?
Yeah, so I think both, right? Because you're going to have people who like to just like skim, right? And then you have people that are going to read a little bit more. And there's people that are just used to using the navigation. So what we do is we have a navigation link that has the word programs. And if you hover over it, then you have every single program that's offered. But then further down on the homepage, we have a program selector where they can choose and there's like usually a thumbnail or like an image that's associated with it, a little bit of, you know, content or a little bit of text, like a title and a paragraph. So that way it kind of tells them a little bit about that program before jumping into it. So I think both is a good idea.
Awesome. Twin Tigers Academy, will there be a copy? Yes, we'll go ahead and post. We host all of our free webinars on our website at GrowPro Agency, so you'll be able to access it there. And I'll also drop the link because I had a few people ask for the 5-star review. Maybe we'll do another live one. Live's always a lot more fun than recording.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to answer Peggy before we wrap up, because we have something really important to talk about, guys, before we end today. And it's this conversation is kind of prompted from some questions that we've been getting in a Facebook group, and definitely want to talk about that. But Peggy said, what keywords do you use for Google My Business? May I have a copy of that Google review webinar? So yes, I'll post the link for the webinar. It's on the GrowPro Agency website. So keywords, if you actually log into your Google AdWords platform, they actually have a section in there that's a keyword generator that will tell you, in whatever industry you're in, these are the keywords that people are trying to search for your business. So that's really what I would do. But potentially, I mean, think, if I'm a parent, what am I going to be searching for if I'm looking for martial arts, right? Typically martial arts classes, martial arts programs, self-defense, karate, and they usually either do like in my location, right, in Tampa, or near me. So you can utilize those terms, your city name, definitely, your county could be another one, and then martial arts or karate in those Google My Business posts, which will allow you, help you to rank a little bit higher. So we want to wrap up with talking about authenticity, right? And this was when we had a couple of meetings planning for this, and when we were going over the agenda, both of us had the importance of authenticity as something that we wanted to discuss. So we wanted to kind of wrap up with this. And
hey, Chris,
yeah, what's up?
Before we hop into that, I know Sarah Jane had some stuff on the lead optimization and the follow-up stuff. So if we can just spend a quick 5 minutes.
We got to jump into that. Heck yeah. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm jumping the gun.
A lot of the lead optimization aspects play into the website elements that Stephen was talking about. So we can cruise through some of those. Let me share my screen here. So I know Stephen touched on the opt-in form. The whole goal of your website really is to convert these leads. So how do you get their information? How are you going to convert them? That's going to be on your opt-in form. So as Stephen mentioned, a lot of our opt-in forms, they're going to be pretty non-committal. There's no big commitment that the leads are going through here, just giving their information. And with the opt-in form, you want to make sure that you find the ideal number of fields for your forms. So when Stephen was talking about kind of eliminating the first name, last name, and having your full name, not only does that play into inclusivity, but it also eliminates one field on the form. It combines to make one field. So full name, email, and phone number, those are 3 main fields you want to make sure you're collecting. Obviously, program of interest, if you've got a program selector, those are really the 4 fields you want to focus on. There's not a whole lot of need for any other excess fields. And if you're only collecting the necessary fields, you're likely going to increase your conversion there. But how are you going to drive people to fill out this form? A lot of that plays into website content, and website content is going to go back a lot to the personality and authenticity that we're going to talk about in just a second, but you really want to use the copy of your website to tell your leads, hey, I see you, I know who you are, I know what you're going through, and I am going to help you. So in doing that, you'll use photos, you'll use your content, and then you just want to give your leads all the information that they need. So Stephen talked about reviews, Chris talked about reviews. You want to put reviews on the website so people don't leave the website to Google reviews themselves. The chances of them coming back aren't very high. FAQs as well, just answer the questions that the leads have before they even really know that they have them. Just put all of that information there on your website for them. And if you can, utilizing live chat is a great way to communicate directly with your leads in real time. You can see in this image here, there's a live chat on this Market Muscles website. If you aren't going to be able to respond within a couple of minutes after someone chats this live chat, it's better not to have it. It can make you look bad if leads are on, they're thinking that you're going to answer right away, and then 3 or 4 or 5 hours later an answer comes. So if you're not able to respond pretty quickly to the live chat, it's better to just remove that from your website. But if you do have the capacity to respond quickly, it can definitely benefit you. You could sign leads up for a trial in real time just through your live chat. And another thing that plays into that Stephen discussed a little bit as well is the call to action. So you want to have one call to action throughout your website. You don't want to confuse your leads or overwhelm them. They don't know which opt-in form they should be filling out. So just have a consistent call to action, and more people are going to fill out your form. And then it's really important to think about what you're doing for people after they opt in. So as soon as they hit that submit button, think about where are they being redirected. You, of course, want to make sure that they're being redirected to a page that you told them they were going to get to by filling out the form. So whether that's your schedule or a special offer or just a thank you page that's letting them know that you'll reach out, you want to pay attention to that page and make sure that they're getting where they think they're going to be going. They're getting the information that they were promised. And on top of that, you want to make sure that you're following up with your leads within the first 5 minutes after they opt in. This is something that Market Muscles is really big on. Our automations send out that first text messages about 2 minutes after opt-in. There's research done that if you reach out within the first 5 minutes, you're more likely to convert that lead. You're more likely to get them to sign up. So the first 5 minutes is really crucial after that opt-in. But with that first message after 5 minutes, you want to make sure that you have nurture sequences in play. So if you have automated sequences, that's going to be awesome. It'll help you stay top of mind for these leads. I know Stephen touched on this, that not everyone is ready to sign up immediately when they opt in on your website. So by implementing these nurture sequences, you're going to stay top of mind. You can let your leads know, hey, we still have openings available in our trial. You can also send emails saying, these are the benefits of doing martial arts. This is how martial arts can help you. I know just in Market Muscles, we get feedback that a lead responded to a message a month and a half into the sequence and said, learning these benefits of martial arts is what really pushed me to make the decision to sign up. So people are able to sign up their leads a month, 2 months after they initially opt in, just through utilizing these nurture sequences. And a lot of this information will kind of go through. It's important to have that authenticity piece, which I think we're all kind of going to touch on now, so we can hop into that.
Awesome. So what do you think of when you think of authenticity? A little bit of a broad question, but we got to dive into it somehow. Yeah, Stephen, go for it.
I think a lot of things like behind the scenes and like raw video and raw thoughts, as long as it's, good thoughts, and a lot of selfies and things like that really allow people to get an inside look into your school without physically taking a step in there. It's funny because one of the things that I recommend, and I still recommend this even before you get a website or before you potentially do your Facebook ads, is to invest in a photographer to come in and take really good quality photos, because you are going to use those through your marketing, whether it's your website or your online ads or your regular posts on social media. You're going to continue to use those. It's an incredible investment for your business. But here's the thing, you don't want those photos to be too good. It's like a funny thing to bring up, because like when things start to look staged and like, you have those kind of like typical photos where you bring in those companies to take photos of, all your students and their stances and holding a sword and all that stuff. I mean, those
Eagle
are
in the background, and then like an explosion as well, right?
right. Yeah. I mean, those are the photos that are like, okay, is this stock or is this real? Like, you can almost not tell whether it's a stock photo or if it's a real photo. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So, if you're going to bring in a photographer, you want to make sure it's like action shots. It includes your students in the moment doing something, whether that's laughing and whether that's doing techniques or whatever it might be. You just kind of want it to come off as authentic as possible and not really hit that stock photo area.
Yeah, and I think this is so important because our news feed, if we're talking specifically like on Facebook, right, and those photos are great, you can utilize them on all of the platforms and Google My Business and your website, but the news feed is so saturated that you've got to find a way to stand out. And we've found a lot of success with just making things more entertaining. And I'll use the example. Within the last year, we've been focusing from the consulting aspect of it on recreating movies. So last year we had the Matrix video that we recreated. We had the Forrest Gump video that we recreated. We just recently did the Grinch. And I mean, the entire video, like the feedback that we got and, on the result aspect that we got just proved to us how important being entertaining is. And I think we know that as instructors that we have to educate them and we also need to be entertaining. And that's where that, terminology of edutainment came from. And it's originally from Disney. But not only do we have to do that on the mat, we also need to make sure that our digital footprint relates to that. And, it's okay to, like Cobra Kai has been going crazy lately. And I'll admit I couldn't get into the series. I know I might, burn for that, but I just couldn't get into it. But there are so many funny memes and GIFs that are around the internet right now that don't be afraid to post humorous things as long as it's in line with your core values and your core focus. So, authenticity is so important and it builds trust. And it really helps that human connection that I think a lot of people are really searching for in such an automated world. So
I think it's important to know too, though, as you're building up your content library, as you're taking photos, as you're recording videos, if you have stock photos on your website, you can replace those photos one by one. I know when I'm signing people up for Market Muscles and we're getting people's websites built, they're like, oh, I only have a few photos that I would use, so I guess I need to start with all stock. But I think you can do some stock, some of your own, and gradually fill those photos in, fill those videos in on your website, build that authenticity more. But even if you just have 2 or 3 great photos that you want to use, you can start out with just those on your website. You don't have to have the photographer come in and take the whole set for every aspect of your site all at one time if that's not something that you can do right away. So having a mix is okay too as you kind of build up that library.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I think the other piece is that like the cameras on our phones are freaking crazy nowadays. They're really, really good. So for you or someone, you're a student or, a parent or something like that, just to take out their phone and start taking pictures during class, you get really good content that way as well. So if you don't have a professional coming in, which again, I suggest you do, but if there's time between that, or you're just not ready to make that investment, you can take those steps as well, just to build up that photo library like Chris was showing.
And, we want to point, I do want to touch on your marketing message and how for some people it's smart to infuse your personality and kind of inject that into your message. What I think, guys, just if we can just make this black and white, keep politics out of social media. Just no matter what side you're on, you are going to upset 50% of the people. And you need to look at these platforms, right? Like a lot going on with Parler and Facebook and Google and Amazon. They're tools. That's all there are. They're a tool, right? Do I have to love a hammer in order to use it? No, it's a tool. And I want to leverage that tool to make sure that my vision of my company and the amount of impact that I can have in my community occurs. And if you think whatever's happening is, oh, I'm gonna, curse this platform, I'm gonna hop off of this platform. All right, well, you are now no longer where your audience is. And that's what you need to be. You need to be in front of your audience. And we have seen zero issues so far in terms of, bad results because of this. So it's just, I've got to touch on this because I see it so often. We're friends with a lot of school owners, and they're putting their, personal opinions out on there. And I just don't think it's smart business. And I don't think it's going to allow you to have the impact, even take business out of it, right? We all opened our martial arts schools because we wanted to make an impact. And in order to make that impact, you got to be where your audience is. And this is where they're at, regardless if you like the platform or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the special things about martial arts is regardless of what background you came from, what, political beliefs, ideology, whatever it is, once you step on the mat, everyone's an equal, right? It doesn't matter what gender, it just doesn't matter. Once you're on the mat, everyone's an equal. You train, you grow, you get the benefits from martial arts. And that's important to remember, especially with, our marketing and bringing people into our school. So don't shoot yourself in the foot because of a specific belief. Just remember, you're using that platform for a very specific reason, and that's to, make a better life for yourself, for your family, and for the people that are part of, your school. So just keep that in mind. And yeah.
Mic drop. Boom. We had 3 questions I definitely want to get to. Number 1, should we freshen up our website colors with you if it's been a while? This is a Market Muscle client.
Yeah. So usually colors are, are represented by your brand. And like you think about Gracie Pack, right? You've got blue, you've got red, you've got white. Like those are your colors. If you just started throwing in like purple and orange and stuff like that, people would be like, what is this? Like, this isn't Gracie Pack. You know what I mean? So would I recommend changing your colors? Not unless you're doing like a full rebrand. But maybe the graphics that are used on your website, like let's just say that before, when we originally created your graphics, we only had stock photos to use because you didn't, have photos, but now you do, then yeah, maybe it's a good time where we start to introduce some of those real photos and those elements into the graphics. So yeah, definitely a possibility for a refresh. I don't know so much about the color change, and that's just kind of dependent on your school.
Awesome. And then has anyone else noticed Facebook is not notifying you of messages right away for your business page? Listen, it's a huge platform with, millions and millions and millions of people. They glitch out. I mean, we literally live inside of the ads manager. And on a daily basis, I see one of my ad account managers like bang their head against the desk, or, a big exhale. It's tech. It's going to glitch out every once in a while. So yes, I personally do not rely on the apps on my phone. Professionals use a computer. Get on the computer, more than likely you'll be able to see those messages. And then last question, what do you think about just saying opt in now to view our schedule and online special? I mean, that's pretty much what the Market Muscles websites say now. So if you want to access the schedule and get that online special, that is what is on that opt-in box.
Yeah.
So cool. Awesome. Any final words?
I'm just curious, for those that are in the chat, how many of you have something in mind that you're going to implement right away? Make sure post in the chat. I'm just curious while we close things out, because we went over a lot of things, and that's the thing with any of these kind of seminars, and when I think about when I go to like karate camps and stuff, you learn so much. And we only talked for like an hour or like an hour and 20 minutes or so. In some of these seminars, it could be days long, and you just learn so much. So for you to actually make use of your time that you just spent with us, you need to take you need to make a list. Okay, here are the things that I'm going to work on and implement into my business. So I hope you all have those things kind of starred and noted that you're going to work on. So sweet. Looks like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we got you guys. Yeah, you guys rock. Blogs. Ron already been doing it during the meeting. Hashtag action taker. Need to figure out the whole blog thing. Make sure you have Market Muscles. Save yourself some time. Need to rewatch. Add pictures to my website. What's Up Monday. Oh, I love it. You guys are action takers. So now that you've got your list, you prioritize your list, go out and take action on it. And we really appreciate you guys spending some time with us today. And, you know, I think all of us are very readily available online. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out. We offer marketing audits. Market Muscles offers it on websites. I offer it on your ads. Happy to help you guys. There's, you know, it's a no obligation talk. It's just a way that we can help you. And, you know, our impact for us, it's like the ripple effect, right? If we get to help one school owner, that school owner is helping hundreds of people. Those hundreds of people have families, and our ripple effect gets to widen as well. So appreciate you guys hopping on. Anything else?
So, thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, make it a great day. Peace.